I think a lot of companies still assume that CRM is still a data collection tool. Before a customer even makes a decision, we can understand what decision stage they could be.
Your sales team should be closing deals, not following up. Are you doing just 3 attempts? If you're doing just 3 attempts, of course you're not getting conversion because you are giving up too soon. Meta is pushing AI as an excuse to sell the placements they cannot sell otherwise.
Yes.
The customer journey is extremely well thought of and gamified is Timo.
Over-personalization can also be a kill for the brand.
I'm 100% sure that most of our audience here today is wasting leads and opportunities to convert more, right? So all these points are extremely important in your process because
Welcome to another episode of The Future Outlook. You're here with Lewis and Niharika. In the last episode, we discussed how marketing and AI are evolving. Today, we're going to discuss a lot about CRM and customer journeys and how AI is helping brands to evolve CRM, which was earlier just a relationship management tool, but I think it can do a lot more today. And I wanted to discuss that with you to understand how brands are now getting out of that noise-making situation where we were earlier on. This is what I believe. And now we are getting to a more refined stage with the CRM or the customer journeys.
absolutely, and you see the CRM is one of the most important tools that any organization should use. And more recently, a lot of opportunities have come up of how to implement AI, for example, to improve that customer journey, increase your conversion rates, and especially follow-up throughs to make sure that you get the most out of every lead that you get into your pipeline. So my question to you today, Rika, is how do you implement AI? In what way do you implement AI to improve that customer journey?
I think a lot of companies still assume that CRM is still a data collection tool and it's not so much as relationship management, which it is, right? And at the end of the day, AI is now helping us understand where a customer is in their journey. For example, if a customer is browsing on a website, right, we have AI to help us understand how long they have been browsing. And not that Google Analytics was not already doing that for us. But now we understand the journey, right? We understand the dwell time. We understand what pages a customer is looking at. We are able to now guess before a customer does anything what their emotional trigger point could be, right? For example, in a car buying journey, I must say, a customer might not immediately buy a car. There might be a lot of different things to look at, right? And AI is now allowing us to understand and capture that information before a customer even makes a decision. We can understand what decision stage they could be. We can then send them the relevant information. A customer could be right now at a early stage of making a decision about buying a car. They could just be browsing. We, with the help of AI, now can send them broadcast messages. We can send them reminders. Okay, this is the car of what you could be looking at. And of course, with the kind of ads that we are running today, we could be sending them ads from multiple direction thanks to AI and its capability to learn about the customer persona, right? I must say, for example, in our customer journey that we have with Alba Cars, right? If someone is browsing on the website today, right, they give us their information, they come for a test drive, right? We can follow up with them, given the information that we have through AI, to understand if they are in a buying journey or are they in just the browsing journey. Do we think they're looking for a discount or are they looking for an add-on? Should we come back to them after 6 months? And not just this data collection, but understanding at what stage we should be reaching out to them also makes a lot of difference, I think. And AI is allowing us to understand that and build from there, which makes it easier for companies such as ours, to be able to go back to a client and tell them, okay, you were looking for this. We have a better option for you, right? For example, if I looked at the broadcast that we are planning on doing right now, right? And when we were doing the testing, we realized that the AI is able to pick up the questions that the customer is throwing at them. And in fact, I would like to tell you one of these case studies that I've had when I was working in the hospitality field. We were creating this entire journey of a customer, understanding the touch points that a customer could have. And of course, website becomes the biggest touch point when you have, right? Because you do Google searches, you come down to a website to see how a hotel could be, for example, right? And a hotel is a much more personal space, in the sense of like your room is a personal space, right? And at the time, I thought about different ways how a customer could be asking questions. At what stage are they asking questions? Is this pre-booking? Is this while they are in the hotel? Or is this post-booking, right? And there are multiple stages in a booking as well. For example, for pre-booking, they could be wanting to know if there is any discount at this minute, or if a particular room is available, right? And instead of deploying all my customer agents on the tool for people to be for them to be answering to the customers, we had AI to do that. AI could easily pick up the keywords and answer them accordingly. And this was very beneficial during the stage of the customer in the hotel as well. For example, they need a towel. They could just say they need towel, right? And how many, which room number, and the AI would take this information to the relevant department, and it would be a very quick journey for the customer to have. And I think this relationship management has become very easy because now we have AI automating a lot of our day-to-day activities. What do you think? What do you think about the customer journey, or understanding how this relationship is being built within organizations such as ours or any?
You make very good points. I think you touch on several points I would like to individualize and address separately. So obviously, the significant majority of organizations, they use a CRM system, that being a Zoho, Pipedrive, or whatever being the CRM software that you use. But I would like to explain how the AI comes on board, because the CRM is, let's say, the first layer, right? It is a layer everyone already has. It's collecting data. The data is sitting there. But AI can make sense of that data, can understand patterns. So it is the second layer above that, so that it can understand what to say to the client at which stage, and what can lead to that conversion, right? So for example, let's say that you are keeping track of what pages on the website that the client is. So you have the data already, either being on Google Analytics, either being on
Any third party that we could be using.
correctly. And the thing is, you have your tracking systems, and the first layer is, if you don't have your tracking fully set up from end to end, you should, because that's how you start collecting that all pieces of data about the customer journey. So first is all the tracking you need to do. The second thing is, you need to understand the touch points between your staff and the client. What happened there? What was the conversation? In which stage the conversation was left off? What was the objections that the client has put forward? So all of that is the second part of that journey, to collect data. And then let's say you've been doing this for a while, you have a lot of data in your CRM system. What you do next? Now this is where AI comes in, and that is a layer that sits above the CRM and looks at each particular client and each particular data point that you have stored about that particular client, and makes sense of where in the journey that client sits, what is the best next step, and then not only understands but takes action upon that, which is to understand, okay, I have this client has browsed a significant, let's say for example in cars, he has browsed 20 different cars, all of which are similar in nature. So the client is already pretty much decided on what type of car he wants. This is obviously an important point. So he's no longer browsing, or just it's not window shopping, or maybe aspirational shopping of saying, maybe I want a sports car, maybe I want a different type of car. So he already knows he wants a specific type of body for the car. So he knows that he wants a certain price range between X and X, because he has checked the pages, individual pages of 20 different cars, all of which sit between X amount and X amount. So all these data points is being stored. So the thing is, a human being will not be, or at least I don't believe, that will be able at scale to be able to make sense all over those data points and then take the next best action with that information. So this is where the AI systems comes in, and specifically agentic AI, where it reads the journey of every client and makes that decision. What will I send? Do I send an email? Do I send a WhatsApp? Do I is it going to be more of a soft approach? Is it going to be a reactivation approach, or is it going to be a more conversion oriented approach? So this is that next step in the next phase of evolution of all the CRM systems, which is we're no longer talking about chatbots and whatnot. Obviously, that is important to have an AI with the knowledge base of your business, with access to your inventory in real time, so that it can actually support the client's decision making process, right? So that's an entire different conversation. But here, what we're saying is how the CRM, yes, is a massive database of information. In certain cases, in many organizations, what I've noticed is that they have this, they are saving the information in different places. So you have on Google Analytics which pages they saw, and you have on the CRM only the touch points related to the contact with the sales team. And you have all these pieces of information is all scattered. There's no central system of intelligence where all of this is being stored in one place. Now, this is the opportunity, right? Let's say you have a business that you're running for more than a year. You have enough data in your, let's say in your Google Analytics, you have enough data on your CRM system. You had hundreds of or thousands of conversations until this point in time. But are you really taking the most out of those leads? Because you paid a lot for those leads, and it's not converting, and you don't know why, right? Why I'm not converting more? And many of the times is because either the sales team is not able to cope with the follow-up process in full. Maybe you are not doing enough touch points. I'll tell you an example. In real estate in Dubai, we know it takes sometimes 6 to 7 attempts on a call to even have the client pick up the phone when he filled the form. I'm not talking about cold outreach. I'm talking about hot outreach. Sometimes it takes 6-7 times just to get the client on a phone call. Now, are you doing just 3 attempts? If you're doing just 3 attempts, of course you're not getting conversion because you are giving up too soon. So understand, every industry will be different, but there are certain things that you have a process. So, for example, last year we implemented an AI call system that did this first attempt at getting the client on a call to set an appointment for the actual sales agent to follow through. It was working quite well because it allowed us to insist as many times as necessary to get the first touch point in. After that point, then your sales team comes in and it takes over, right? So all these points are extremely important in your process, because I'm 100% sure that most of our audience here today is wasting leads and wasting opportunities to convert more.
Also, I think it's very important to also understand probably that customer journey is no longer linear. And I think it's not about just creating awareness and then creating a consideration from, how we have been understanding customer journey, right? That a customer would first want to know about the business. So you would want to make them aware. And after which you would want to bombard them with the kind of products that you sell so that they could consider it, right? But I think it's no longer just that. A customer could be already aware of your business, right? They might actually be considering buying something as well. For example, real estate as well. It's never a quick journey, as we know for a fact, right? It's a huge amount of money that someone is spending, right? And they would want to probably wait. They would want to understand the right time. They would want to understand the market, right? And I think it becomes part of this customer journey that we give them the relevant information at those specific touch points as well. And those touch points could be over months' time. It could be something that, like you rightly said, that we have a chatbot which has the knowledge base of a company, but it is the customer journey does not just stop at the knowledge base of the company, right? It is also about the chatbot or the AIs or the different touch points that we have through email marketing, through SMS, through calls, to be able to understand what the customer could be looking for at the time, right? And AI is allowing us to understand this relationship between a company and what a customer would want. For example, like I briefly touched upon this, where retail today, retail in any manner is able to use this very well. And how is that? Because I think it's a fact, right, that all of us get our salaries towards the end of the month or the first week of a month, right? To understand and then push out the messages that, okay, now is the time to buy at around that time when you have your salaries coming in, is also a great knowledge to have, because you have push messages coming in from apps that tell you this is the time to buy. They give you probably discounts at the time when it's your salary days, right? So also to create this relationship of want. Of course, we are living in a world where a lot of people would argue that we are spending a lot of money, we are buying unnecessarily, but it has become part of life as well. It is a customer journey as well, right? But to be able to send them the right message at the right time. For example, if I am buying too much of one product, right, me as a customer, my information gets stored into that CRM, right? A company can see the journey that I have had. I have bought the same product for religiously for the last 3 months, right? Now it is the company and how they understand, or a founder who understands this information as relevant. They pick up that information. They know how much it takes me to consume that product, and it sends me a reminder before I could be finishing that product to buy it, or probably give me a discount so that I can bulk buy it, or give me a subscription model so that I as a customer become loyal to that particular company, right? Which is why I think today customer journeys are so important for any organization, because I think we are not just selling at that time. We are looking for loyalty when it comes to customers. We would want a customer, for example, even if it is just cars that we are selling right now, we would want our customers to always come back to us, right? And through a well thought customer journeys, you could be building that loyal relationship with your customer as well. I could be wrong. Of course, there is a lot of love and hate when it comes to a customer liking a product, not liking a product. A lot of things could change in the back end, right? But I think having that second layer of AI to be able to filter all of that history of a customer makes a lot of difference to any organization.
Absolutely, and I'll pick up on where you just left off, but I wanted to do a slightly sidetrack tip. You mentioned there, because you said you give an example where if you are selling a product that can be wrapped as a gift to someone else, you might not know that this is possible, but for example, Meta allows you the ability, if you know what you're doing, to actually target friends of people that have a birthday in the coming certain period of time, let's say in the coming month. You can target specifically the friends of people that have a birthday in the next 30 days, so that you can serve to those people custom advertisements to say, give this gift for your friend, which could be let's say a gift for your male friend, or a gift for your female friend. But that being said, it is the ability to target the right person at the right time that we are basically making this point, that these opportunities are there.
Yes.
These advanced targeting options are there, should you know what you're doing, or you can find someone that can actually assist you on setting up the customer journey from the point where you target the right people, the people that are in the process of making the decision to buy a product such as yours, and then take them into that customer journey. Now, your customer journey in real estate may be 6 months, because it might be the case where you do a first touch point today, and your conversion might happen in 30 days, 60 days, 90 days or more. And this is another point, which is your sales team may not have the patience to wait for so I have a lot of things going through my mind because of my experience in real estate. But my point was, all real estate agents want the the lead to be given to them at the decision making process when they are going to make a decision within the next few days. Well, of course, this is not just
Possible, like
it's
that.
not possible, but you can make it as approximate as possible by having AI take care of that first half of that journey, right until the point where the client is already convinced, he already wants, it's moved out to consideration phase. Now he's considering which options.
Yeah.
At that point, you want to transfer to your sales team, because your sales team should be closing deals, not following up all the time. Not yes, so it's part of their job, but that part we can automate to the most part, right? We can make it sound human, even give it a personal touch based on each individual sales agent that you have on your floor. So there can be an AI trained at the tonal voice of every single person on your sales floor, so that each of your sales agent get a personal assistant that does all that first half of the journey, customized to the particular tonal voice of that sales agent, to speak on behalf of that sales agent, to send message from that sales agent's WhatsApp or email, so that once the client has sent the signal that is ready to take action, is when the actual sales agent comes on board to do that to do that last call that will potentially lead to a conversion. That is where the sales agents want to live. That's what they live for, that conversion, that thrill of closing, while the AI can take care of the part of the boring process,
Of course.
of the waiting process, of the follow-up process. So this is something that every organization and every business should look into your customer journey and understand what part do you want the human to take over, because it's what they do best, and what part you can have the AI do instead. Because the AI does not get bored with as many touch points as is required, as many attempts or offended. You see, so it can work through that first difficult part of the process, and especially if you are in a position where you have a business that sells a service or a product that takes forever to convert, let's say 6 months, a year, because it's a big acquisition, a big purchase. You'd really want to have an AI do that first half of the journey, and you'll see the conversion skyrocket. Not only that, your sales team will be extremely motivated, because they will be closing and closing and closing, because the lead, when it gets to them, it's already warmed up to the point where the decision is being taken place then. Now, again, this is a process, and it's not overnight that you can convert your current process into something what I'm describing, but nowadays it's already possible. And you should take every opportunity to automate this customer journey as fast as you possibly can, because you'll see your conversion improve, your retention of sales talent improve, your conversions improve, and your lifetime value of the customer also improve. Because you also said loyalty. Loyalty nowadays is extremely difficult to retain. The attention span of clients is extremely short. Tomorrow they will be impacted with a different ad from a different organization, and you already lost the loyalty. So loyalty means that you need to carry on building a relationship far beyond the point of conversion, that you need to bring the client back. Now, if you have an e-commerce shop, you'll know that first, probably you'll lose money on the first order, because the cost of user acquisition is competitive, and you might not have the margin that you get on the first order might not cover the cost of acquisition, most of the cases, right? So the repeating business and repeating orders is where the money lies, and to be able to convert that and bring the client back. Now, I'll give you an example. Someone that made a significant, let's say the customer journey is extremely well thought of and gamified, is Temu, right? Everyone knows about Temu. And what they have done was that they carry on getting the client to come back and back again by means of gamification, by means of games, by means of all kinds of things. And you end up paying a lot more, believe me, I know. You pay, you want to buy the next thing and the next thing and the next thing. And this is exactly, for example, in e-commerce, an example of how you do that retention and loyalty over a period of time. So just right now it's just getting extremely competitive, and you'd really want to implement AI as much as you possibly can in all that customer journey. So following up these points we just discussed, I wanted to ask you, what would be the most important piece of advice that you'd like to give our audience when it comes to the one thing they should focus on when it comes to customer journey?
I think one of the most important things that any one of us right now in marketing should focus on is understanding what to really automate. It cannot just be that, every touch point can be automated. Is it even worth automating, that particular touch point that you're looking at? And I think one of the things that you said, that initial layers are the best to look at because they could be automated much faster. It could show you the results as well. You could be looking at how to make changes there. And that is, I think, the best layer to explore, because that is the time when a customer is in a consideration journey, right? They're looking at your product, they're looking at your brand, and any marketer, for them, it is worth exploring how that particular part of the journey could be automated the first as their segment. But another thing that makes me wonder, or something that I vary about, or something that I am very careful with, is ensuring that I don't over personalize, right? What do I mean by that is, it's weird to have those push notification come through, right? For example, I had this one brand which was a food aggregator, and it would send me these push notifications that my mother is calling, right? Now imagine on my phone I see a notification that says my mother is calling. Now that does not land well with me, because what if my customer does not, I'm sorry to say this, but does not have a mother, right? To them, it might not land very well. Or it's someone who's very far away from their home country, right? And they see something like that, or their mother is not around them, or something like that. Do you know what I mean? That over personalization can also be a kill for the brand. So you need to also understand how and what can be automated, or what sort of personalization can you bring through AI that would really land well with the customer and not make it a overkill.
You make a very good point, which is sometimes less is more.
Yes.
And it is important to not make the client feel like you are hunting them down, right? So you need to keep that distance there as well. It's very important. So just to wrap the conversation about customer journey as well, in the last 3 months, what was the major improvement that you have done to the customer journey that had the best impact?
The first thing that I think, and which was most important for me, was ensuring a data hygiene. And I think what we do is we just look at all the data that we have collected so far, and we just try to push as many campaigns to them. But I don't think that works really well. I think it is very important to understand who has been in the system and for what reason, right? Someone could have sold a car to us. We cannot just be, sending them in a broadcast to sell a car again. We already know through the data collection that we have had that this person already sold a car 2 months ago. That means they could be looking at to buy a car, or probably they bought a car and right now is not the time to sell them a car, whereas we could be selling them add-ons. We could be asking them to come to the showroom for an add-on, right? Now that becomes very important, right? And which is what I implemented in the customer journey as well, when I was looking at making this customer journey better for my customer, which was to understand which data point or which segment of my brand that they were sitting at, so that I could send them relevant information back to them. And it's just not just, a mass push notification or a broadcast that is just sent to everyone, but to understand where they are in their customer journey as well. For me to understand where my customer sits right now, to be able to send them the relevant information, right? And I think that it became a very good success as well. Not just this, and I think previously also, when I've worked on customer journeys, I've tried to understand where a customer could be, or what is it that they were looking for, and ensure that there is a good data hygiene before I set up my automations, ensuring that I understand what data strategy I need to be using here to be able to ensure that my customers are in the right journey when it comes to their interaction with the product or their interaction with the brand.
I mean, you make a very good point. Data hygiene is probably one of the most important things if you are looking into implementing AI into your systems. If the data is not well structured, you're going to find to be a significant challenge and a problem, because AI will not be able to operate as efficiently as it needs to be, because the data is too scattered,
of course,
or too conflicted between itself. So that's very important. I did have a question I would like to ask you as well, which is, within the last 12 months, was there any particular AI implementation that you have attempted that you decided to move back and revert back because it did not work or had adverse effects? And give us that example, if any.
in fact, not over the year. In fact, in the last couple of months, this is something that I have gone back to, and which was using AI for my meta ads. I don't think it works really well right now. Probably in the future it might work with the placements, with the kind of AI implementation they have on the ad sets, the creatives, the videos. Personally, I do not think it lands very well right now. Personally, I also think that when you hand pick your locations where you want your ads to show, or hand pick your demographics, or your the clientele that you're trying to push that ad to, it makes more sense brand level wise, right? And push up. We have Meta sort of like bringing AI in all facets of the ads that we are running on Meta, which I think is a bit problematic right now. Probably later in the future we'll have more say on what we want to have AI interfere in and not interfere in. But until then, I think I always go back to having my ads, creatives, everything set up by myself. And it's becoming more and more difficult because of course they have AI with everything right now, with the placements, with the different automations in your creatives. Everything is now very, very highly AI'd already. But I think that it had a negative impact on the kind of ads that I was running previously, and that was one thing that I rolled back immediately as soon as I could.
You make a very good point, and I think Meta is pushing AI as an excuse to sell the placements they cannot sell otherwise.
Yes.
So when you have automatic placements, and AI doing that decision, it end up placing the advertisement in certain placements where they have too many impressions they cannot get rid of.
Yeah.
And it cheapens the quality of the lead, in my experience as well. So I think they have wrapped those changes as saying it is an improvement because of AI in Meta ads, when in fact it is in my opinion, a covert way to push placements that otherwise they would not be able to push. And every time we run an ad, I want to be able to be specific to a platform. For example, if I want just on Instagram or Facebook, because clearly for our case in Dubai, Instagram leads end up having more quality than Facebook.
Yeah.
While we have more volume in Facebook though. But the thing is that for us, for the geographic location where we are, we're a place where most of people use Instagram and not Facebook. And I think many people use Facebook because that back home, back in their country, that's still the major platform that they use to keep in touch with friends and family. The point being that we want more control of the placements. We don't want the AI of Meta, for example, to make that decision for us, because it does reduce the quality of the lead. So, and that is why we cannot really discontinue some of the campaigns we currently have running for a long time, because the moment we discontinue those campaigns, when we want to make a new campaign, now we are forced into the new rules and settings.
Of course.
And that has been quite impactful, yes.
And which brings me closer to the end of this segment. We did discuss a lot about AI, and I think it's very important to understand that CRM is not just about automating relationship. It's about effectively automating relationships with the customers. And I think that makes a lot of difference to any brand if they do it well. And this is a learning curve that we are all in right now. And I would like my audience to let us know if they find this relevant to their businesses, to understanding marketing, CRM, and how customer journeys work. If you have any questions, to leave it in the comments and we will get back to you on that.
Thank you, Rike, for the amazing conversation on customer journeys. Is something that is extremely important for any business. And I would like to also thank our sponsor, Alba Innovation Hub, the premium luxury business center located in GBR, which is also the location where we are doing this podcast from. So thank you to Alba, and thank you, Rike, for this amazing chat. I'm looking forward to the next episode.
Thank you, Lewis, and see you all. Do subscribe. Thank you.